All right, so when we left off in the last video, we were just finishing talking about concatenating strings and how we can use concatenating strings with variables to update a timer that's on our screen. So we're actually going to add this piece into our code, time remaining colon, then we're going to add that time left variable in, and as the time left variable changes in the program, it will be updated on the screen. So if you come in here, we see quotation, time remaining quotation. And what we can do right after the quotation but before the comma is we can concatenate in a string and use time left. So what will happen if I press start is this will actually update onto the screen as the program changes. So you can see here that as the program goes, the value is updating every second. And remember, we're using the game loop to kind of help us here. We know that the game loop cycles 60 times per second. So if we use that to our advantage, we can make sure that this accurately counts. Now, if we watch this timer, what you're going to see is that when it hits 0, something unexpected happens. Most of us would expect that at 0, the timer would stop. But here, when it hits 0, right now, it keeps going. So one of your little mini projects at the end of this lesson is going to be to actually fix that. So kind of keep that in mind. We've made a timer, that's great, but our timer shouldn't keep going into negative time. So what we're going to do, the last thing in here, is we're going to just practice writing in 3 dimensions one more time. Remember, we can use the for loop, a game loop, to our advantage. So here we have a for loop, and I'm going to create an integer counter that starts off being equal to 0. We'll keep going until while the counter is less than 5, which means it will cycle at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0. Sorry, we start at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But when it hits 5, this condition will no longer be true, and it will no longer go. So it will only draw in blue 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 5 times. And then we want it to increment each time. And then from here, I need to add in my brackets. See that indented nicely. So this is going to draw to the screen 5 times. Now from here, we want to also make sure that we're increasing our x coordinate each time of our vector so that it will actually move and draw the vector in a different location. So timer.x++, timer.y++. Now if we run this the way that it is, remember, it's going to kind of fly off the screen, and it doesn't look like it has a shadow because we forgot 2 key pieces of information. First, if we want it to stay in one location, remember we need to reset these either at the end of our for loop or at the beginning before the for loop runs. So every time it runs, setting it equal to 150, because remember that's where we originally set it to be. We set it at the location 150, so we want it to go back to that location every time that draw starts. And then the next piece is if we want it to appear like it has a shadow, we actually need to write it one more time at the very end in a different color. So after we've drawn the shadow, remember that draws in order, so it will draw all of this first, and then it will draw this one in pink on top. So if I start this one more time, you can see we have a 3-dimensional timer that looks like it has a shadow, and that accurately counts. So at this point, you can go onto your programming assignment, see if you can solve those little miniature programs that I have set before you, and you are done with the first half of Unit 6.